I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to your neighborhood real estate show. The hyperlocal real estate show where real estate professionals talk about the neighborhood you live in or the neighborhood you want to live in. This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today.
Hey everyone, I'm Todd Bookspan and welcome to another episode of Your Real Estate Show. I am so excited for you to meet my friends Aiessa Guerra and Destany Poulette with the Call Tattoo Real Estate Group. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, so our dedicated listeners who listened to this show before met Mr. Call Tattoo, Justin Mercer, and you're part of the Call Tattoo group that he started since I had him on. So it's kind of exciting to have the two of you here. With Justin, he kind of talked about his journey, right? How he got into the business. And what I love is I feel like that you're part of a group, right? So the Call Tattoo Real Estate Group. And you have a diverse group of agents who've come together to build something really big. But let's talk first about how did you get into real estate? So I met you, I think right when you got into real estate, but kind of give me the journey.
No, actually, I started 7 years ago.
Well, then I didn't meet you yet.
But you met me when Justin was just starting into real estate. But I started 7 years ago. I was working at an office. I became an office manager. And so mostly I was doing office admin work. And then I also worked part-time for an agent, like learning from them because I wanted to learn everything. I didn't want to just jump into it, which a lot of people do, and that's fine. But for me, it was a little bit of a different situation because I was a single mom. And then I was there for 3 years, and then I moved out here and I started working just as an agent. I was working with a team that did wholesale and retail for 2 years. And then I joined Justin's team, which is like the best thing ever.
Well, that's awesome. We'll talk more about the team. And so I love the fact that you were office manager and that you were on a team. And so really, I find my thought that comes to my mind is detail oriented, right? So understand the transaction and make sure that all the T's get crossed, I's get dotted, and then a little more knowledge than an agent who hasn't done the full scale of a transaction.
Yes.
And so what's your favorite part about doing the real estate side?
Not working in the office. I mean, as much as I loved being an office manager, at the end of the day, I love working for myself and having the freedom to be able to leave and come and go and create my own schedule. And then, working with people that want to work with me, and helping them through the process of buying and selling real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it seems like you have a really good culture. I mean, anytime I see all you together as a team, you're always having fun, lots of smiles on your face. Everyone actually likes each other. And gets
I know,
along.
it's awesome.
All right, so Destany, it's Destany with an A. So
yes.
that's what I got to make sure everyone knows that when they figure that out. So how about you? How was your real estate journey?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of similar to Aiessa. So before so I've been doing this for a few years, but before I was doing like payroll, and then I was a flight attendant, and then I was in leasing for a few years in property management. And I loved that. Like if I didn't do real estate, probably would have stayed doing that. But I saw the potential of where I could go with real estate and how much more money I can make there versus being in leasing. So that's kind of like where I started. I jumped from basically property management into real estate. And then, but similarly, I had started on a team, on a different team, and I was the transaction coordinator first. For 6 months because I also wanted to know everything about what happens within the transaction from beginning to end, inside and out, the entire process. And so I learned, I managed, I think it was about 11 agents at the time. So constant transactions coming in. And so I was dealing with like 12 at least contracts at a time. And then once I went through that 6 months, I went real estate full time, and since then, been full-time. And then we came into the team 4 months ago. It's when this baby developed. And it's been great ever since.
Well, I love that because I think when you have the transaction coordinator role, it's the kind of hyper growth or whatever. There's probably some better word for that, but it accelerates. That's the word. It accelerates your knowledge and your experience because you get in a month what you might get in a couple of years of transactions. So you really get to know well.
Yeah. Well, because I think that some agents have gotten into the industry and not knowing, like they hire a transaction coordinator like right out the gate, which is fine. But then sometimes you deal with those on like an opposite side of a transaction and they don't understand the actual steps that are like taking place behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So it's nice to actually know that, even to just be able to educate other agents that don't know what's happening. It's like you can educate them, like here's what we're the step that we're in and where we're going to next. You know?
You shouldn't have to educate the agent on the other side. But it's nice that you will.
It does happen sometimes. I mean, you find agents that are new, or like I said, they jumped into it and maybe they've been in the industry for 10 years, but they have a transaction coordinator that does everything for them, which is fine. I mean, it's easier.
Good for them. I just think better client experience, right? That's that's really what you guys are after. And so, but I've never heard anyone say that they love property management.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know what it was about. I guess I think it was because doing the tours, like showing people, it was like the whole real estate world without the houses. It was like apartments, right? So it was just like walking them through it and selling the apartment to them, and then it was like writing the contract. I don't know why I enjoyed that so much, but I was just like, if I didn't end up going into real estate, I still would probably be in property management.
Well, I love that. I mean, to me, I always see it's the whole idea of helping someone into a home. So whether it's an apartment or a house, I mean, it's such a big part of everyone's lives. And so I think that anytime you can have impact, whether it's helping them own the American dream, so to speak, or whether it's just getting them into an apartment, I think it's still providing a great service.
For sure.
All right. And so from a different perspective, you said single mom, right? 4 kids, right? 3 kids. Yeah. So, I mean, talk about how do you bring that in? I mean, you said it's kind of nice to not work in an office, but you're juggling a lot then with family and business.
Well, I'm very fortunate to have like very involved co-parents. So I have my kids week by week, and on the week that I have them, most of my time is dedicated to them. And then on the week that I don't have them, I try to do a lot more work that week, but I still do. I of course work when I have them, but I'm able to, make my schedule around them, and my business. So
I mean, I think that's nice. Huge, right? Because some of your, I kind of said it, right? Some of it's is managing the transaction, which you can do from home. And then some of it's actually getting out there and opening doors and showing properties and doing all that.
Well, I've been in like a position where I was working before I really went into like deep into real estate, where I was working like, I'm not even kidding, like 70 hours a week. I'm working 2 jobs, barely able to see my kids or spend that time with them. And so now like I just have a totally different life, and most of my time I'm able to dedicate to them. And it's like such a blessing to be in this type of industry,
That's awesome.
I know. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I don't talk about it much, but my first 2 years in the mortgage business, I was a stay-at-home dad. So it was awesome. I was in school at night, and those were the best years of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's like you only get them once, right? You only get those years with your kids once. So I think it's important, like for me, it was important too, to be able to find that balance. And we were talking about this before. I don't think anybody actually knows how to fully balance, right? Like you don't always have like your work and your kids and your whole life balance. Sometimes you give more to one than the other, and then sometimes you give more to the other than the other. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's just balancing out, figuring out what works for you individually. Because I think like I've always wanted to be like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom 100%. Like that is not me.
It's hard.
It's way, I have so much props to the people that are, because I can't do it. Like I'm bored. I'm exhausted at the same time. It's like, I can't do it. So I think, but being able to be like field trips for your kids with their school and doing homework with them, even though sometimes that's exhausting, and going into sports. And it's like, we're able to do that still, and still be able to produce enough money to be able to put them in those type of things.
Right. You said before that you got 3 in sports all at once right now.
Yeah. Basketball and baseball. So, I was a single mom when I first started real estate. So it was juggling that, but now I have, my boyfriend. So he has 2 kids. I have 1, 4, 5, and 7. 4, 6, and 7, just turned 6. So yeah, it's a lot, but we're doing it. I mean, as a parent, you just do it.
Well, yeah, and I think just the field trip and stuff. I mean, that kind of, even when I was, working in the business, they needed dads on the field trip, so it was just awesome for me. Although my daughter's like, Dad, you're taking your loan application too loud on the bus. But But it's just that opportunity that real estate provides, and especially when you've got a team, because you can all help each other out.
Yeah, for sure. True.
And so it seems to me like your team is unique. So this interview is about the two of you, but I mentioned Justin Mercer, who is Mr. Call Tattoo. I think most people listening, if they're in Arizona, they've driven down the freeway and saw him on a billboard, and now you guys are on some billboards
I
too.
know.
11.
Yeah.
I know. I saw one the other day when I was driving out to the Cardinals game, and so I think that just then he was a new agent, and now has grown into having this amazing team, with all of you, and so it's been a lot of fun to watch and be part of that journey. I think it's been really cool, and one of the things that, in addition to traditional real estate, which we'll talk about in a minute, one of the things that your team does a lot of is cash offers for homes, right? So that's, when I saw that sign, I think it literally just said really big, cash offers, Call Tattoo.
Yeah.
And so kind of walk someone through, what does that mean? Because I think that they've seen all these big, quote unquote, iBuyers, these big, publicly traded companies or hedge fund backed people coming in and buy cash, houses for cash. But you guys are different because you are, a small team of investors. You have, your own money you guys are putting out there and doing this. What does that look like? Someone calls you and they say, hey, I need to sell my house. What's that conversation like?
So we would look up the property and do the comparables, and we'd probably go and walk the property just to see how much work it's going to need, because we really want to get the numbers right for our investors, and we want to give the seller an accurate number for their home, because we want them to know. We want to be honest with them. We want to be upfront with them, and if they don't want to work with us because the number's too low, that's fine. But we want to make sure we can close on the home. We don't want to give them any number that they suggest. Just because they want an offer, we have to be able to close on it, which there are a ton of agents and investors that will give them that number, but then will not close on it, and so.
Or they'll walk it back.
Yes, or they'll walk it back.
Right. Meaning, so I got that. I got a thing in the mail that said, we'll buy one of my rental properties. I forgot what the number was, but, I just knew, because I've got clients who've reached out to them that they say they'll give me, let's pretend it was $200,000, and they'll say, yep, we'll give you that. And then they take off a buyer seller fee, some kind of big percentage, and then they're like, oh, we're going to take this off for repairs after they come look at the house, because they've never seen the house, so they can tell you whatever you want over the phone without actually seeing it. And then they're like, yeah, never mind, it's not 200, it's 120, or whatever that number is, and you're giving a real number up front.
Yes, and we're looking at the property, we're giving the real number up front. We're not asking for repairs. We're taking the property as it is. We can close in 10 to 15 days. We're basically doing it to the seller's benefit and also being honest with them, so it's a super easy process for us.
Well, and I think that people really liked it. It was really helpful when the market was crazy and you had to sell your house to buy your next house, to have a cash offer. Mm-hmm. And, it certainly sounds great. No showings, right? Because people hate having to have their house look pretty. I've seen videos of all of you, you're still all dressed up nice and you're out there ripping out carpet. But I see you guys also take a lot of trash out of houses. So it's they're not even having to clean out their junk, which I'm like, come on, at least clean out your trash. But I see you all out there rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty. And that seems kind of crazy. It seems like some of the houses that you have purchased are ones that would really be hard to list and sell.
Oh, yeah. Some of them, we've actually bought in properties that have been listed on the MLS, but not really anybody can get a loan on it, but yeah, a lot of these people don't want to list their homes on the market because they're not really going to get, they're going to get cash offers on their home, so might as well go directly to somebody that you're comfortable with, and that's going to give you a real offer. So,
and I think people don't always realize that their home does not look great.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I feel like every seller really thinks that their house is the best house ever. You show them 5 houses and they're like, does your house compare to these? And they're like, oh yeah, mine's way better. And then you're like, really? Let's really peel it back. Really, what do you think? And I think that with that, it's just, you have to be upfront with them and realistic. And I think that's something that we are 100%. We're not going to go and tell someone, because any agent can come in and be like, here's how, like you said, here's how much your house is worth. And then it just nothing happens, doesn't sell, it doesn't anything. Whereas for us, we'll be like, here's what your house is worth. And they may hate us for a few minutes, but then when they realize that realistically, this is solid, it's rare that we actually walk the prices back in comparison to some other cash offer people that might be out there. So that's one of our huge, things that we work with.
Well, we're really also not trained to be salesmen. We're trained to build relationships with people, right? So that to build trust with people, so we're doing things a lot differently than the traditional agent is taught to be in real estate, where they're trying to sell themselves.
They're transactional. You guys
Right.
are relational.
Yes.
And I think that's huge. And it seems like, you mentioned that houses are an MLS. And so what's happening right now, at least from my perspective, maybe you two have a different perspective, is that people think that we're in the market that we were at the beginning of the year, when you literally put a sign in the ground with some pictures from an iPhone, and then you had 20 offers or more. And now if a house doesn't look good, isn't cleaned out right, they think it looks great and it doesn't, it's going to sit there and not sell. And then they fall out of, you said you had one where it fell out like 2 or 3 times before you guys ended up coming and buying. So why would a house fall out? Like, why wouldn't it sell if it already, to get an offer on it and then someone cancels, right? That's falling out. Like, what would make that happen?
So I think what was happening is they were walking the price back. So they would offer them the amount that they wanted, and they went through contract like 2 to 3 times, and all 3 of them canceled. They called me after the second one canceled, and I said, let me go in there. They originally wanted to relist it, but I told them, I'm like, you're not going to be able to get what you want if you list it. But if you want to list it, I'll be happy to do it for you. And then they're like, you know what? We got another cash offer. We'll try it one more time. And I'm just like, okay, well, call me in 10 days, after the inspection period's over.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And so I went in and I gave them a real number. And then we ended up closing in 10 days. So, and I just had this conversation yesterday. Somebody had asked me what their home was worth back in April. And they were comparing it to these homes that sold $50,000 over, which is not the value of the home. That's just, that's $50,000 over the value of the home. So they think their homes are worth that much because it closed at that much, or at that price. And I told them, so they listed their home at $300,000, $320,000 or something like that. And there's brand new homes that are listed at $310,000. And I'm like, with 3-car garages, they don't even have a garage. And I'm like, do you think somebody's going to come into this neighborhood and choose your home over this home? It's just being realistic with the sellers now, because we're not in that market anymore, where we had 6,000 homes on the market. Now we have 20,000 homes on the market.
Take someone who's compassionate to have that conversation, because that would be a really hard thing to hear, right? And that's really a challenge. But I love the fact that you take and show them the actual pieces of it, right? When you said, hey, I showed them 5 houses, is yours better than this? And I think that's helpful, because one thing to hear, it's a different thing to see it.
Yeah,
well, and we're in the business to help people. Like, that is what we want to do. We're not just telling them, like I said, what they want to hear. Like, we want to genuinely help them. And like, sometimes people are in a weird situation. Like, sometimes people are going through divorce and they really need to get out, and or there's like a very toxic situation that they're in. And like I said, they really need to get out. And so we're trying to help people by solving their problems. Yeah. We're not, we may not give them the highest offer, but again, it's realistic, and we are sure that we'll close it. And be able to solve that problem for them so that they can just walk away easy. Like I said, our thing is take whatever you want and leave whatever you don't. And we're 100% committed to that. Like, if you have piles and piles of trash in the house, it's fine, just leave it,
Did you ever find any hidden treasure in those piles?
I haven't. Yeah, I got it, but one day I'm sure we will.
No hidden Harley Davidson or anything underneath there? Like,
yeah,
cool.
Nice.
I think it's, I just remember from the foreclosure days, I'd always have these foreclosure agents. Yeah, I walked up this house and there's a Harley Davidson in the garage.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, someone would leave that behind.
That's so crazy.
It was always crazy.
Wow.
But it also tells me the advice you're giving is true. If someone you talk to in April's calling you now, if the person who took the other cash offers but is calling you back, that just tells me they respect your advice.
They ended up listing their home with another agent, and it's sitting on the market currently, and they called me yesterday, and that's why I was like, I had this conversation with you, and so I said, when you guys want me to come over and sit down and go over the numbers with you, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, so that's my public service announcement to everyone listening, is you have to, the person who says they're going to sell your house for the most probably isn't the person you should be listing with, because again, they're doing that in order to sell you on, I use your term,
on themselves,
on why, but then they tend to be the ones that sit the longest and end up losing the most in value, because they've sat for so long and they've gotten that bad advice.
Well, because they're literally are just trying to get the listing, right? Yeah. Like, we are not just trying to, when we are listing houses, we're not just trying to get the listing. We want to sell the house.
Yeah.
So, because anybody can list your house at any price. If it's a $500,000 house and they want $1 million, sure, yeah, we'll list it. But we don't want to do that. Like, we'll let them know you won't get any offers. You won't probably get any showings either. If you actually want to sell your house, then we are the right team for you.
Well, I think let's talk about that for a minute, selling homes, because obviously it's a big part of what you do, as well as the cash offer part is you sell homes. And when I think of Call Tattoo Realty Group, I think marketing, right? I mean, your marketing is really, really good. And, of course, you got Isaac, who's hiding over here videoing alongside of us. So, you got your own video crew. You guys got, top-notch photography, all that stuff. And then really just great social marketing.
And we also have the mastermind behind the scenes. Yeah, our team leader.
Yes, Mr. Tattoo himself.
Mr.
Tattoo himself. I don't ever say the story. I shouldn't even say it live, but I just remember because the first time I met him when we did this recording, and so I was trying to read when he was closing his eyes what was tattooed on his eyelids, and I was trying to actually stay involved in the conversation, but it was, it was all good.
Yeah.
It was all good, but different experience. Totally got off the subject. All right, let's get back to marketing and listing, and listing homes. So, what's your favorite thing that you guys have done when listing a home from a marketing perspective?
I mean, I think just the video part of it, because we try and make it very unique and specific, because anybody can just walk through the house and be like, this is this many square feet and this is what it's selling for, and then show pictures and videos. And I mean, Justin has gone into the pool in a full suit with a wine glass. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen that one.
And it's like things like that are just funny. I think we went to one of the houses last week, and I was like in the bathtub, like pretending like I'm reading a book. It's like we do funny things to try and like catch people's attention, because everybody's attention span is so short these days. So the more people that we can grab, then that means you get the more eyes that you have on your actual house that is selling. So that's my favorite part of it, I would say. It's definitely the funny things that we do.
Well, and I think between all of you on the team and Justin, all your social media followings, and the fact that other agents are watching it as well as the consumer, because really that's part of what does it, is another agent watching the video, saying, this is going to be another Call Tattoo video. It's going to be good. I'm going to watch it. And then them saying, oh gosh, you know what, that'd be perfect for the Jones family, and then helping sell that property. I think that most consumers, when they're looking for a listing agent, don't understand how important that is in a market that's got, as you said, a lot more listings now than we had before. You actually have to have people who are going to have a strategy to actually sell your home.
Yeah, you can't just take the cell phone pictures anymore. You can't have like.
You should have never had cell phone pictures.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yes.
Well, it was like the cell phone pictures.
But
it's
it
like
worked
there's
in the other
dishes in
market.
the sink. It's like it's still going to sell because people will look past it. But now it's like people don't, because they have 100 other houses in their search that they're able to look at. So if they're going to look at a full sink or with dishes versus not, and it's nice and clean, because when people walk into a house, they think, okay, this is how that person is living. Yeah. So what didn't they repair throughout the years that they've been here? You know what I mean? So it's like they walk and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's so dirty, it's so gross. Like, are there bugs? Is there a bug? It's like you have to have that buyer's hat when you're listing a client's house. Like when a buyer and their agent walk in, like how are they going to feel? What are they going to think? So it's like when you don't have an agent that is thinking like that and preparing the house and preparing you, because you can think, like I said, you have the best house, and I can tell you, yeah, we'll just take the pictures. I'll take it on my cell phone and we'll list it. Yeah. And then it sits for 3-4 months and they're like, why aren't you selling my house? And it's like, well, because realistically, they never told you up front that what you need to do to actually prepare your house to sell for top dollar.
Yeah, this market, I think professionalism is so important, and experience, and that's just what I love about what you guys do. What about the fact, so you talked about seller side, so let's talk about buyers for a minute. So what are buyers' expectations now, and how are they different from when they were just a few months ago?
Well, I think a lot of them feel scared because of the interest rates and the increase so quickly. I feel like that's something that has maybe pulled a lot of buyers back, and then they've seen the rise in the prices within the last couple years, and they feel like they are priced out of the market. But one thing we've kind of tried to really educate our clients on is that if you find a house that you love, I'm sure you've said it before, I think it's date the rate, marry the house. So, if you find something that you truly love, and maybe it's at a 5 or 5.5 interest rate, get it, because if it goes down at some point, if the interest rates go down at some point, you can refinance. And you still are in the house that you love, versus waiting a year or 2 years or however long you continue to wait. You may settle for a house and maybe the interest rates are even higher, and you're just like sitting here, like some of the people that are sitting here now that wish they bought 2 years ago, they're like, man, I wish I would have bought. Well, if you wait the next 2 years, you're going to be in that same spot. I wish I would have bought 2 years ago. I wish I'd have bought 3 years ago. So it's like, if you can get in now, that's kind of like we're trying to tell our buyers, like, get in as soon as you can, because historically these rates are still really great. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Gary Keller said in the mega camp, like, that 2% is probably never going to come back ever again. It's like, that was like spoiled. You were spoiled and lucky if you got that. So at a 4 or 5% rate, I think it's still overall really good. But people are too concerned about it because that's what's in the news articles. Yeah. They buy cars that have an 18% interest rate or a credit card that's 24% interest rate. And they're concerned about a 4% rate on a house. It's just crazy, but I get it, so.
And there's a lot more options now. I mean, they have the opportunity to buy the home that they want to buy rather than putting an offer on whatever they can get an offer on.
They can be picky.
Yes.
They can negotiate the price down when there's no other offers. They can get credits towards closing costs. They can get repairs done. So I would say the ball is in the buyer's court again.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting just, to hear my team talk to buyers out there and, kind of you nailed it, right? You can get money towards closing costs and you can buy a lower rate. There's just other things you can do that'll make it a better experience for them. And, I could talk forever on financial literacy, but it is amazing how many people will do. So they said, I don't want to have that rate on a mortgage. And then you look at their other debt and it's just out of control. Right. But, the cool thing has been is the people who jumped in and now we're able to take their equity and refinance and pay off that debt. Yeah. We've done a lot of debt consolidation from the gift of equity that we had built up. And that's really been, I think everyone has that trauma in the past from the financial crisis, 10, 12 years ago still. And they think that that's where we're heading. And, certainly we're not, just because the quality of mortgages now is so much better. The credit score is 100 points higher. People actually had to show that they actually made the money versus tell them what they thought that the loan officer wanted to hear. And so, I think it's just a different market. And I love the fact that you guys are taking time to educate, the buyers on that part and really helping them understand that there's opportunity now. And, even for the people who are frustrated who should have bought last year when they qualified, at a 3% rate and, prices being, 15, 20% lower, there's still great opportunity to be a homeowner today that, that's just not worth waiting around for. Because I do think that in a year, people will pay more for a home than they're paying right now.
For sure.
And interest rates will be whatever they are.
Yeah, the values of the home are not going down. They're going up. Right now they're just leveling out to where they're supposed to be instead of like them being inflated.
Right.
So the value of the home is still there.
They're not going up every week.
Right? Yeah.
They'll go up a little bit every week, but they're not going up like this every week, which is crazy. So let's talk about areas that you like to sell in, what's a community for you that you've been focusing on that you really like?
I personally like Eastmark since it's very family oriented because I'm a mom and it's like really about like community and I don't know. I really like it there.
All right. So someone who's listening who's from outside Arizona or maybe even someone in Arizona doesn't know where Eastmark is, where it's like they fly and they land in Sky Harbor Airport in the middle of Phoenix. Where's Eastmark?
So Eastmark is in Mesa. It's kind of on the border of Queen Creek and Gilbert.
Yeah, it's like
Queen Creek. So you're basically heading east of Sky Harbor to get there, and then maybe a little bit south.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Eastmark's fairly new, right? It's a big community, lots of builders in there.
Oh yeah, and they have very, very beautiful homes, very beautiful home designs, and it's really about community in that area. So.
I think it's wide price range, and then that's really where a lot of the growth has been. That's where a lot of the Intel and Taiwan Semiconductor and all those folks have been focusing their building. So it seems like that's a great area too for young professionals looking to live around other folks like them.
And so close to every freeway too, which is amazing because once you go out, you start to go out too far east, right? It's like you are getting away from the freeways. So then the people that are maybe working in Phoenix or Chandler or wherever, they have a longer drive, but luckily in that location in Eastmark, you have the 60, you have the 202, you have the the 24 that takes you to the 202. So it's just being so conveniently located is huge, I think, for those Eastmark residents for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's, again, all different price points, which I think is helpful. And, all the fun stuff you'd want, parks and all the cool things that everyone needs.
Yes, I agree with that.
Love that. And I know you love selling where you live.
Yes. So we recently moved to Circle Cross Ranch in Santan Valley. So I love the neighborhood. I love the area. It's 5 minutes to both of to all of our kids' schools because they're in 3 different schools right now because of their ages.
Oh gosh, that's always fun. I miss those days.
Yeah,
well, not really, but yes, I do miss them.
Right. So yeah, it's just a great location, and it's it kind of hits close to home because that was the neighborhood that my very first house that I helped a family member actually buy was in that neighborhood. For $226,000. So it was
those were the good old days.
Seriously, and it's crazy just looking at his value now and just sending it to him. It's just
that was just a few years ago, right?
Literally. Yeah. So it's super cool, but yeah, no, I love being able to sell in that area because, I mean, obviously I don't have to drive that far. But yeah, so that's kind of like my location of choice, I would say. But we go everywhere, all over.
I was going to say that. I was just about to took words out of my mouth, but you sell valley-wide, which I think is great.
Yes.
And the fact that you've got a team of people to help, I think is great.
Yeah. And we kind of everybody kind of lives in their own. Like we have someone up in the West Valley, we have someone up in North Scottsdale. So we're kind of like spread out. So literally anywhere anybody is looking, we can help. Even I think one of the other girls, Jess, she recently sold up in Payson, I think was. So literally everywhere.
Well, I think one of the things that's unique about your team, because of the fact that you have the cash offer business, is that you two have seen more houses and been inside more houses in different parts of the valley than most agents will see in years and years of doing business.
Yeah. Well, and even if we don't have a specific client that's looking at a specific neighborhood in a specific house, like we still will go just to continue educating ourselves on areas, neighborhoods, zip codes, things like that. So we just want to make sure that we know everything about everywhere.
All right. So here we are is kind of we go wrap up mode. And I always get a little nervous asking this question because I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there something else that we should have covered about you guys or the team that we haven't talked about?
I would say one thing, I feel like a lot of people see our We Buy Cash homes everywhere, right? Like all over the billboards and stuff. And they seem to forget that we also do residential real estate. So I think that's important for people to know, like we do it all, right? We do the investing. So if you want to buy or sell or invest, like we are heavily invested in that field too. But also we do a lot of assisting with buying a house and selling a house. So we do it all, but people are starting to think, I think some people think that we're just doing the cash buy, but it's everything.
I think that's really key. And I do think it's just, kind of one more arrow in the quiver, right? If someone wanted to list, I think that oftentimes people get stuck because they don't, what the real estate agent's telling them doesn't align with their goals. Like you said, they might be in a hurry to sell. Something might be going on behind the scenes. And so you can pull that out and say, all right, here's what else I can do for you and solve problems in ways that other people can't.
For sure. Yeah. And if we don't know the question for something about anything, like is Airbnbs or something, like I'm not super huge on, like I haven't done a lot of Airbnb deals, but there's someone else on our team that has, you know what I mean? So it's like, if I don't know the question, we can get an answer for you.
We're also like very heavily trained. Like we do so many training. We have like the best mentors. Like not only have we all been in the business for years and have a ton of experience, but we're always learning. We always want to know. We're always educating, and creating relationships with agents and with clients. So.
All right, so let's talk about how, if someone wants to reach out to you, Aiessa, how do they find you?
They can probably find me on social media. You can probably Google my name. They can find me at our website at calltattoo.com.
Perfect.
So that's probably
all right, and we'll put all the contact info in the show notes. We'll make sure everyone has access to it. How about you, Destany?
Yeah, website, social media. I have TikTok, Instagram. All the things. Destany sells homes. So
all right, cool. We'll make sure we're going to put Your Neighborhood Real Estate Show on TikTok. So that's going to, I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone there.
See, and I like TikTok more so than I like Instagram Reels because I'm still learning the Reels. But TikTok, I'm like, I could do that quick.
All right, so we can reach out for social media advice as well.
Yeah, TikTok. Don't do Reels yet.
I can do Instagram.
Yeah. We have someone else who can help with the Instagram.
I'm older. I can do Facebook. I can do Instagram too.
We can do Facebook too. Yeah. Take the Twitter. No, I'm not good at Twitter.
Yeah. We all got to be good at something.
Right.
So, all right. Well, it was truly a pleasure to have the conversation. I think that all of you listening now know why I had Aiessa and Destany on here and why I'm a huge fan of the whole group over there at Call.
This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today.